he was nothing but a complete scoundrel, worse than trash. Upon hearing this, the Blood Moon sect member flew into a rage. "I'm not leaving." As he formed hand seals once more, cold stars suddenly glittered in the sky. In the blink of an eye, that starlight transformed into an immense pillar of light, instantly piercing through Shaoqiling's body. "It's the immortal slaying nail." Shaoqiling shrieked, his eyes wide, and coughed blood as he said, "I truly am still not worthy. If Senior wanted to save me, they would have intervened long ago. And since the powerful figures are restricted by Senior from leaving the courtyard, they must be gradually falling into despair. It seems my journey in the mortal realm ends here." Meanwhile, in the courtyard, the peach tree sternly called out, "Kitchen knife. Without the master's command, we cannot go out." Kitchen knife lowered its head and said indifferently, "I know." At this moment, the great rooster also crowed from the side, "Kitchen knife, you know the rules. Leaving the courtyard without permission will at best reduce you to a mere mortal object, and at worst, utterly destroy your spirit and form." Kitchen knife opened its eyes and said, "I know, but he was dispatched by me." He then turned his back to the great rooster and the others with a resolute stance, stating, "Even if it costs me my life, I must save him." The golden immortal sword was being tormented. The powerful figures in the courtyard had already sensed all of this. Facing his companion's warnings, Kitchen Knife declared, "I know, but he was dispatched by me. Even if it costs me my life, I must save him." On the other side, in the sky where the golden immortal sword was located, the heavens and earth suddenly changed color. A fierce yellow wind surged, thunder rumbled, and the mournful cries of all beings inexplicably resounded. A terrifying pressure descended, leaving the Blood Moon sect member barely able to stand amidst the raging gale. He roared loudly, "Who are you?" His answer came from a bare-chested, red-haired man, resembling a god or a demon. "When I rage, gods and Buddhas are annihilated. You, a mere immortal sprout, dare to disturb my subordinate? Who gave you such audacity?" A thundering roar erupted, shaking the very heavens and earth. Inside the formation, the golden chi bell stared blankly at him, muttering, "Senior Kitchen Knife." He had heard all those words just now. He hadn't expected Senior Kitchen Knife to actually refer to him as his subordinate. For that single statement, he felt his mission outside was worthwhile. Kitchen Knife turned and cast a cold glance at him, saying, "This kind of trash formation can trap you? You truly are an utter little piece of garbage." As he spoke, he extended two fingers and flicked them lightly, and the formation trapping the small chi bell easily burst apart. Looking at this godlike man, the Blood Moon sect member was utterly terrified. "I am an elder of the Blood Moon sect from the immortal realm. Do you dare to strike at me? Strike? Are you even worthy?" Flames ignited on Kitchen Knife's fingers. With a flick of a finger, the opponent met his end. The golden chi bell knew Kitchen Knife was powerful, but he hadn't expected him to be even stronger than he imagined. Recovering from the shock, he exclaimed in surprise, "Boss, how did you get out?" He had some understanding of the rules within the courtyard. Kaidao said coldly, "Shut up and come back with me." Kaidao's reprimand momentarily stunned little Qiling, but then he began to laugh through his tears. Only he knew how comforting the boss's scolding felt at that moment. Back in the courtyard, Golden Qiling and the rooster knelt in a daze before the tightly shut door. Inside the room, Kaidao was seen kneeling. Before him was a humanoid light projection, much like a hologram. The figure had its back to him, and both remained silent for a long time. After a considerable while, the light figure finally uttered a few cold words, "Don't let it happen again." Meanwhile, in the Blood Moon sect of the Immortal Realm, a disciple rushed to report to the Blood Moon sect master, Zhou, whose life tablet has shattered. What kind of individual could cause someone in the Immortal Fate realm to die so suddenly? The Blood Moon sect master gave a cold smile. "Even I, an immortal venerable, cannot achieve such a feat. Could it be related to the Immortal Emperor's search for his daughter? And in the mortal realm, capable of breaking the light pillars of an immortal emperor-level mystic realm, there must exist individuals comparable to an immortal emperor. It seems I will soon be able to share this world with the immortal emperor." In the mortal realm, Long Outyin also brought the treasure the protagonist desired. The protagonist asked, "Elder Long, why don't you come in and sit? You weren't waiting here for me the whole time, were you?" Long Outyin wiped a cold sweat. "I dared not enter while Senior was absent." I have brought what Senior requested. As Long Out Yin spoke, he opened the treasure box, revealing an ice crystal-like item lying quietly within. This item is the Sky Profound Ice Crystal. Its effects are exactly what Senior requires. The protagonist stared in astonishment. What an incredible item. He then pushed open the door and said, "From now on, Elder Long, simply come in and wait whenever you arrive." At that moment, in front of the protagonist's courtyard, a golden light suddenly flared. As the light faded, it instantly transformed into a middle-aged man. He was none other than the invincible existence across myriad realms, Badian Shendi, Lord of the Immortal World. Badian Shendi had descended to the mortal realm this time to search for his daughter. He had just detected some fluctuations in primordial realm cultivation and followed them to this location, but why had the sensation suddenly vanished? Looking at the courtyard before him, could she be inside? Yet, the instant he pushed open the door and stepped inside, even Badian Shendi, invincible across myriad realms and having traversed countless perilous situations, was utterly stunned. Meanwhile, Long Out Yin was reveling in the sensation of immense power, food that could boost cultivation, tea that could enhance spiritual roots. Just a small cup of tea in his hand completely shattered the bottleneck he had faced for years at the peak of his grand achievement. This was truly an extraordinary stroke of luck. Could this be Senior's way of thanking me for the Sky Profound Ice Crystal? However, thinking of the small refrigerator the protagonist had made, he sighed again. Unexpectedly, the Senior's approach was so fitting. The protagonist took out a chilled watermelon from the mini-fridge and chuckled, "I didn't expect this thing to be so useful. I've wanted a fridge for a long time. Watermelon tastes best when chilled." Long Out Yin also wished to taste a piece, but he found himself in a predicament. For Xiaolinger was staring at them like a possessive puppy guarding its food. The protagonist lightly tapped Xiaolinger's forehead and said, "Don't stare at guests like that. Eating too much chilled watermelon will give you a stomach ache." Xiaolinger reluctantly pushed the plate forward. Long Out Yin carefully took the watermelon, wondering to himself, if the tea and meal were so miraculous, what marvel would this watermelon hold? After taking a cautious bite, he immediately felt a tumultuous surge within his dantian. Is this the dantian transforming into a sea, a giant spirit coalescing? Is this a sign of breaking through to Earth Immortal? Could I truly be on the verge of reaching that realm? Long Out Yin knew that the protagonist had merely bought an ordinary watermelon, yet how could it produce such an effect? Could it be that the kitchen knife in the Senior's kitchen imparted some of its essence while slicing the watermelon? However, at this moment, Long Out Yin could no longer control the surging spiritual energy within him. This was a clear sign of an impending breakthrough. Yet, he dared not break through here, fearing that the immense energy unleashed by his advancement might disturb the Senior. Thus, he hastily bid the protagonist farewell, and without awaiting a response, he rushed out. The protagonist was utterly bewildered. "Oh, why the rush again?" Long Out Yin replied, "Yes, it's that urgent." But as he opened the courtyard gate, he was startled once more. He saw a person kneeling by the entrance, seemingly having appeared there unnoticed. He did not recognize this individual, yet he profoundly felt the terrifying, cosmic pressure emanating from them. But why would this person be kneeling here? Could they have trespassed into the courtyard and been punished? The individual greeted him, but Long Out Yin could barely contain the immense spiritual power about to erupt within him, so he quickly rushed away. "Apologies, elder brother, I'm occupied at the moment." Ba Tianxian, observing his hurried departure, found it peculiar. He perceived that Long Out Yin was on the verge of breaking through to the Earth Immortal realm, but he did not appear to be the master of this place. Then, a voice came from behind him, "There's a restroom inside. No need to run so far to relieve yourself." Ba Tianxian turned his head, and instantly froze, speechless. He saw the protagonist emerge from the house, enveloped by countless, ethereal Tao principles, and exclaimed in awe, "A body of the great Tao! What kind of being is this protagonist? Why would even an immortal emperor be compelled to kneel before him?" Ba Tianxian, suppressed by the divine artifacts in the courtyard, was unable to rise. Seeing the protagonist emerge from the house, he was utterly dumbfounded. At this moment, the protagonist radiated an endless rhythm of Tao principles, with his VAP effects fully unleashed. Furthermore, these effects altered according to the cultivation level of the observer. The higher one's cultivation, the more magnificent the spectacle. At this moment, in the eyes of Batty and Shandy, the protagonist was truly the center of the universe, the very end of the Grand Tao. He gazed blankly at the protagonist, only then realizing why he felt this way. No wonder the courtyard is filled with terrifying presences. It turns out I accidentally stumbled into a supreme expert's sanctuary. But why would such a supreme expert be in the mortal realm? Cultivating the mind is naturally not the reason. As soon as he stepped out, he saw another person kneeling at the entrance, immediately startled. What the hell, has someone been kneeling here for half a day again? Could it be that my home's threshold is really too high? And looking at this person's extremely luxurious attire, they must be someone powerful and influential, right? I can't afford to offend them, I really can't. Thinking this, the protagonist quickly said, "Elder brother, are you all right? I'll replace this threshold another day. Did you hurt yourself from falling?" Before he finished speaking, Batty and Shandy prostrated himself, his head hitting the ground, and said anxiously, "This humble one is Sui. Greetings, senior." This familiar routine made the protagonist pause. Another cultivator. Wait, Sui? Could it be that you're here for Suling? Hearing this, Batty and Shandy looked up and asked, "Is my daughter truly inside?" At this point, it was useless for the protagonist to be reluctant, as the rightful owner had come searching. Sighing, he reached out to help Batty and Shandy up. "Please rise quickly." In an instant, the cosmic, galaxy-like pressure around Batty and Shandy vanished. He felt refreshed and invigorated, further convinced that the protagonist was indeed some terrifying existence. Returning indoors, the protagonist called little Linger and asked her to look at her father. However, the little girl hid behind him, continuously shaking her head. "No, I haven't seen him, I have no impression." Hearing this, the protagonist couldn't help but scrutinize Batty and Shandy. "What's going on with you? Go!" Batty and Shandy was taken aback. Ever since Linger was cursed and demonized by the ruthless Immortal Venerable, he had no choice but to seal her within a secret realm for thousands of years. With a senior's level of cultivation, shouldn't it be easy to deduce the fate of every chess piece? Could it be that Batty and Shandy is just an insignificant player, and Linger is the senior's chess piece? Thinking this, he felt both lost and delighted. He clenched his fists and said, "To be frank with Senior, Linger and I have been separated for some time. Logically, she should be more mature, but little Ling's current appearance is exactly as it was before, which is why I suspect." The protagonist stood up and said, "Since you claim to be Linger's father, do you know if Linger has any birthmarks, and where they are located?" "Yes." Batty and Shandy replied affirmatively. "Linger has a snowflake-shaped birthmark on the back of her neck." Hearing this, the protagonist was taken aback. This person truly is Linger's father. Batty and Shandy accurately described the shape and location of young Linger's birthmark. It seemed this individual truly was young Linger's father. However, for some unknown reason, young Linger had lost her memories concerning herself. Therefore, the protagonist said to Batty and Shandy, "If you don't mind, let young Linger continue to stay here. She is at an age suitable for learning, and I will take good care of her, endeavoring to impart all my knowledge to her." Upon hearing this, Batty and Shandy was stunned. For Senior, such a powerful being, to bestow all his knowledge upon Linger. This is not only curing Linger but also granting her such immense grace. Batty and Shandy bowed his head to the ground once more, saying, "I entrust Linger to Senior. I thank Senior on Linger's behalf." Watching the man kowtowing repeatedly before him, the protagonist was slightly taken aback. "Oh, you don't have to do that. Had he perhaps heard that I taught in the town? Or did I persuade him too strongly?" Meanwhile, Long Out Yin, after eating 2 slices of watermelon, finally broke through to the Earth Immortal realm. At this moment, a man approached from behind and said, "Fellow Taoist, congratulations on your breakthrough." It was Batty and Shandy, who had just taken his leave from the protagonist. On his way, he sensed Long Out Yin's breakthrough fluctuations and came to investigate. Long Out Yin looked at the newcomer, cupped his hands, and said, "Greetings, Senior. My breakthrough was urgent just now, and I failed to observe proper etiquette. I hope you will forgive me." Batty and Shandy waved his hand with a smile and said, "There's no need to be so polite. Both you and I have a connection with Senior. If you don't mind, how about you call me Elder Brother and I call you Younger Brother?" Long Outyin sensed his powerful aura, as vast as an abyss and as grand as a mountain, feeling that the other party was infinitely more powerful than the golden immortal sword. Although he didn't understand why the other party would condescend to associate with him, listening to the other's words, it seemed there was a connection with Senior. This interaction was certainly not a loss. He cupped his hands and called out, "Elder brother." Badian Shandy smiled and patted Long Outyin's shoulder, saying, "Excellent, younger brother. You've only just reached the Earth Immortal Realm and are already half a step away from the Immortal Seclusion Realm. You must have received guidance from Senior. I am certain you will soon break through to the Immortal Seclusion Realm, and then it will be time for your ascension." Badian Shandy then took out a token and handed it to Long Outyin, saying, "With this token, you can freely find a power in a Grand Hall, or go to a city of a Grand Hall, or even directly to the Immortal Land Nation. It will be easy to find me then." Long Outyin expressed his gratitude, took the token, and asked, "My name is Long Outyin, younger brother. May I ask how to address you, elder brother?" Badian Shandy replied, "It's nothing, it's nothing. My name is Sui, and everyone in the Immortal Realm calls me Badian Shandy." Long Outyin was about to offer a polite remark, a fine name, a grand title, Badian. Then he suddenly reacted, stumbled, and exclaimed, "Immortal Emperor?" He was utterly and profoundly shocked. Although he had never ascended to the Immortal Realm, that did not mean he was foolish. This person, who had just called him brother, was actually a terrifying existence capable of reigning as emperor in the Immortal Realm, invincible across countless worlds. Moreover, he had just witnessed the Immortal Emperor kneeling before the Senior's abode. What then, was the true identity and power of the Senior? Immortal Emperor Badian returned to the Immortal Realm, his journey to the mortal world leaving him with profound emotions. Not only had he found his daughter, but he had also come to know such a formidable and terrifyingly powerful Senior. However, he had not anticipated that Xiaolinger, whom he hadn't seen in a millennium, had lost her memories. Nevertheless, with the assistance of a supremely powerful Senior, she would undoubtedly recover swiftly. Furthermore, he was granted permission to visit once a month. Indeed, the Senior was a truly good person. As Immortal Emperor Badian was lost in thought, an ill-timed individual suddenly appeared before him. Immortal Emperor Badian's gaze instantly hardened. The other party waited for him to draw near, then let out a laugh, exclaiming, "Immortal Emperor," before prostrating themselves on the ground. Immortal Emperor Badian let out a cold snort, asking, "Is there a matter?" He, Immortal Emperor Badian, detested this individual before him the most, for this fellow to dare seek him out at his abode was truly audacious. The other party bowed their head, then cautiously inquired, "I wonder if the Immortal Emperor has located Fairy Suling?" Immortal Emperor Badian walked past him without a pause, stating, "No." "What? None?" Startled, the person asked, "Immortal Emperor, shall I dispatch some individuals to assist you in your search?" "It must be in that very room." Immortal Emperor Badian spun around abruptly, delivering a flying kick as he roared. His kick was immensely forceful, sending the other party flying to crash against the wall in an instant. "Xiao Kun, let me warn you, from this day forward, should you ever dare to approach my dwelling again, I shall strike you every single time I see you. Furthermore, regardless of whether you dispatch individuals to the mortal realm to search for the fairy or anything of the sort, if I discover anyone from your sect dares to descend, I shall annihilate your entire sect. Do you comprehend?" Though Immortal Emperor Badian appeared submissive before the protagonist, in the immortal realm, he remained the formidable immortal emperor who commanded myriad realms. Xiao Kun trembled with fear, stammering, "Understood, understood." The reason Immortal Emperor Badian specifically highlighted the golden immortal sword was due to his having sensed its aura when he previously knelt in the protagonist's courtyard. Without a doubt, the golden immortal sword undoubtedly now belonged to the Senior. Should these individuals inadvertently offend the Senior because of it, and thus shift the blame onto him, he would be gravely wronged. And they dared to aspire to share the heavens and earth with me? Preposterous. In Guangzhou City of the human realm, a significant event transpired at the Shushan Immortal Academy. Among the new students undergoing assessment, an individual possessing a Confucian sage-level talent had remarkably emerged. Those endowed with such a gift could, in the future, reach the pinnacle of achievement, attaining the rank of a Confucian sage. This was a talent truly rare to behold in tens of thousands of years. Even in the immortal realm, it would only appear once in a millennium. Indeed, the very presence of the character Immortal in Shushan Immortal Academy's name served to indicate the extraordinary nature of this power. Beyond this mortal realm, even up in the immortal world, the Book Mountain Immortal Academy exists as a powerful entity. It is rumored that other mortal realms also have Book Mountain Immortal Academies. Just as the Book Mountain Immortal Academy was in an uproar, its academy head, Chen Han'an, having received the news, rushed to the scene in a frantic hurry. Silence, everyone! What is this commotion? Even if a Confucian sage's talent has emerged. Everyone was stunned by his demeanor. What demeanor? You probably weren't this anxious even when your wife was giving birth. Chen Han'an said. So, where is this Confucian sage's talent? As soon as he finished speaking, a young man in green robes stepped forward, cupped his hands, and said. Student Guizimo greets the academy head. This person is indeed the Confucian sage's talent. The academy head gracefully observed Guizimo, and when he finally saw clearly, he stammered, it truly is a Confucian sage's talent. Zimo, have you studied on your own since childhood, or have you had the guidance of a benevolent teacher? Guizimo replied, this student began studying at 13, and for the past 4 years, I have continuously sought guidance from Mr. Chen in town. This gentleman is profoundly knowledgeable, as if he can communicate with the heavens. If he possessed cultivation, I would even believe he is a Confucian sage reborn. Chen Han'an narrowed his eyes, thinking, I've never heard of any Mr. Chen among the learned people of these mortal realms. I wonder which uncouth bumpkin was lucky enough to stumble upon this treasure. I hope he doesn't teach him any rubbish and ruin him. He said to Guizimo, then, have you noted down any poems or verses he has composed? Could you recite some for me? Guizimo cupped his hands and said, Mr. Chen has composed countless poems. I shall recite one that he gifted to me. One moment Chen Han'an was full of doubt, but the next, he would kneel before the poem composed by the protagonist. In response to Chen Han'an's invitation, Guizimo closed his eyes, savoring the profound charm and imagery of the poem, and began to softly recite. Young, I left home, old, I return. My accent unchanged, my hair has thinned. Children meet me, but know me not, and smile as they ask, where do you come from, guest? The lines of the poem were clear and melodious. As Guizimo finished reciting, he saw a gleaming, bald head before him, and he was utterly astonished. Academy head. Chen Han'an knelt on the ground, murmuring to himself as if enchanted, these lines, what profound imagery! Leaving home in youth, returning in old age, these mere 4 lines encapsulate a lifetime and the vicissitudes of the world. This is truly, indeed, a Confucian sage alive today. Zimo, you must know Mr. Chen's residence, don't you? I believe I absolutely must pay him a visit. I want to ask for his guidance, I want him to be the academy head, I want to bear his children. Meanwhile, Chen Han'an received a new task, which required him to establish a new sect, name it Han'an sect, and complete it within 2 months. Upon seeing the task, Chen Han'an felt his anger surge to the top of his head. What a rip-off. Last time, making me, a mere mortal, join the backer sect was already absurd enough. Thankfully Duke Murong and the others were foolish enough for me to complete it smoothly. This time, are you trying to kill me? Fine, I can only shamelessly go and ask Duke Murong and the others. Just then, a knocking sound came from the courtyard. Chen Han'an walked over, opened the door, and looked. Hey, isn't that Zimo? Didn't you go to Xinzong City? How did you come back so quickly? Guizimo pulled over an elder with a cool hairstyle and introduced him to Chen Han'an, saying, this is the Dean of Shushan Immortal Academy. He brought me back by flying, and says he wishes to pay his respects to Mr. Chen. The Dean of Shushan Immortal Academy? Chen Han'an was startled, thinking, my dear friend, you can't be kidding me. That's a top figure on the continent. I must be extremely polite and under no circumstances offend him. Just as Chen Han'an thought of this, he saw Chen Han'an staring at him with his smooth, shiny bald head. Oh, another one? The routines of these cultivators are always the same. But while it's understandable for people like Morong Gong, why must even a top figure like you on the continent call me senior and kneel? Have I become invincible at some point? Thinking of this, Chen Han'an asked Chen Han'an, Dean Jin, there's something I'd like to ask you. Do you think I'm very strong? Upon hearing this, Shindanting was so frightened he almost wet himself, thinking, is Senior angry? Is Senior living in seclusion here to secretly unearth world-shaking talents without others knowing? Or perhaps he's descended to cultivate his mind? Could Senior have already deduced that I wanted him to become the executive dean of Shushan Immortal Academy, and sought out Senior to cultivate his mind? Shindanting felt he had pretty much pieced together the true situation. He quickly spoke against his conscience, saying, actually, Senior isn't strong at all, I can't detect any cultivation from him. In my eyes, Senior is just an ordinary mortal. Humph. Chen Han'an watched his cold sweat pour like an open faucet, feeling a wave of suspicion, and asked, then why are you causing such a commotion? Is it really that painful? Shindanting said weakly, Senior, you can just call me Danting or Shouting, there's no need to be so polite. Upon hearing this, Chen Han'an thought, it sounds like it really is painful. He then said, I'll just call you Eldertongue. Shindanting's hands were still trembling. He quickly apologized, then hastily flew away with Guizimo. Seeing that Chen Han'an had not attacked him, he couldn't help but think, good thing I knelt quickly, otherwise, if I had angered Senior, the consequences would have been unimaginable. As mentioned in the previous episode, Shindanting frantically came to find Chen Han'an, and then hastily left, which led Chen Han'an to speculate, Shindanting must have come for some particular matter. Setting Shindanting aside, the infuriating mission issued by the system was also giving him a massive headache. He knew absolutely nothing about cultivation, yet he was expected to establish a sect. Wasn't this just a joke? After much thought, he decided to go to town to buy some books on cultivation. Chen Han'an often visited this 10,000 Realms bookstore, and each time it gave him a sense of familiarity. Besides, the proprietress, Ms. Duan, was a charming woman who still retained her allure. Every time Chen Han'an came, she would subtly flirt with him in his presence, and sometimes even when her advances were not too aggressive, Chen Han'an would find himself unable to cope. Ms. Duan closed the book she was holding and said, Mr. Chen, you're here. You haven't visited my shop in a long time. What have you been busy with lately? Chen Han'an replied, indeed, it's been a while. How's business lately? Ms. Duan sighed, still the same, just barely getting by. You know, as a weak woman living alone, it's very hard, and I really wish to find someone to marry. Chen Han'an gave an awkward yet polite laugh, I'm afraid no one is worthy of the proprietress, are they? Who said that? Ms. Duan gave a disdainful smile and gently pressed her finger against Chen Han'an's lips, isn't there one right in front of me? This sudden flirtatious remark caught Chen Han'an off guard. He awkwardly cleared his throat and said, Ms. Duan, let's not talk about that. Do you have any books about the cultivation world, preferably those about basic cultivation knowledge? How boring, Ms. Duan pouted unhappily, every time I mention this, you change the subject. As for the book, I happen to have it. Chen Han'an found it strange, how is it that you seem to have every kind of book? Ms. Duan said proudly, of course. Don't you see what my shop is called? After speaking, she took a thick book from the shelf and handed it to Chen Han'an, saying, here, you don't have to pay for it. Consider it a token of our affection, all right? Chen Han'an took the book and thanked her, thank you very much. I'll be sure to promote this place well for Ms. Duan when I leave. Ms. Duan smiled charmingly, no need for promotion, just come visit often. Alas! Chen Han'an felt utterly speechless. Yet, despite being playfully teased by the proprietress on every visit, he couldn't shake off a familiar sensation. For reasons unknown, Chen Han'an found Boss Duan of the Myriad Realms bookstore remarkably familiar. Since he couldn't comprehend it, he decided to simply stop dwelling on it. As he watched Chen Han'an depart, Boss Duan fell into a brief reverie, then murmured, my apologies, the time is yet to arrive. The moment his words concluded, the Myriad Realms bookstore erupted with 10,000 golden beams of light, then vanished instantaneously. Naturally, the protagonist Chen Han'an remained oblivious to the bookstore's transformation. At that very moment, he was comfortably settled in his courtyard, lounging on a chair beneath a peach tree, engrossed in a cultivation manual. It was only after perusing the book that he fully grasped the concept. For cultivators, serendipitous opportunity essentially signified a fortuitous chance. Then what exactly were these serendipitous opportunities that Morong Gong and his companions constantly spoke of? Could they truly achieve breakthroughs simply by dining here? Preposterous. The rice at home was purchased from the town. If that constituted an opportunity, what would the world come to? It seemed they genuinely enjoyed his tea and cooking, perceiving them as rare and sought-after chances. As for Elder Long's exceptional politeness, it suggested his elevated status and prior experience with such extraordinary things, hence his lack of surprise. He resolved that given the opportunity, he must thoroughly question Morong Gong and his peers, and at the same time, broach the subject of establishing a sect. While he was deep in thought, a knock sounded at the courtyard gate, and Morong Shue's voice drifted from outside. "Is Senior at home?" Chen Han'an paused, surprised. What an extraordinary coincidence. Once Morong Shue had entered, Chen Han'an inquired, "Xiao Shue, you've arrived at a most opportune moment. I have something to discuss regarding the establishment of a sect. Would you be able to convey this to your grandfather? I hope we can deliberate on the matter." Morong Shue was taken aback. Her sole purpose for this visit had been to inquire of the senior about the proposed merger of the Backer sect and the illusory moon sect. She had never anticipated that the senior would have already divined her intentions. Truly, his powers were awe-inspiring. Thus, Morong Shue inquired, "Senior, what are your thoughts on the matter? If you deem it permissible, we humbly hope you would bestow a name upon the sect. Should Senior find it unfavorable, we shall, without hesitation, abandon the notion altogether." Upon hearing this, Chen Han'an thought to himself, what a fortuitous coincidence, a pillow delivered just as slumber calls. The system had, coincidentally, just assigned him the task of establishing a sect. After a brief moment of consideration, Chen Han'an stated, "In that case, it works out perfectly. I have also given some thought to the sect's name. What are your thoughts on Ping'an's sect?" Chen Han'an had initially feared the name might be too commonplace, but to his astonishment, the moment he uttered it, Morong Shue became overwhelmingly delighted, exclaiming repeatedly that it was an excellent name. Chen Han'an could now discern the situation. He surmised that whatever he proposed, the other party would invariably deem it favorable. Such a mastery of sycophancy was truly unparalleled. Yet, this was simply too coincidental, too peculiar for words. Chen Han'an then inquired, "Xiao Shue, I've actually had a question lingering in my mind for some time. Why do you consistently address me as Senior and treat me with such profound deference?" "Naturally, it is due to Senior's immense cultivation power." Morong Shue responded without a moment's hesitation. Upon hearing her reply, Chen Han'an's face was utterly blank with confusion. "Immense cultivation power? But I am truly just a mere mortal." Morong Shue froze momentarily, then suddenly realized, "Oh dear. I've spoken out of turn. How could I have forgotten Senior's path of mental cultivation, and so casually blurted out something about cultivation levels?" Observing her reaction, Chen Han'an sensed that further questioning would likely result in Morong Shue prostrating herself once more. He therefore stated, "I shall trouble you with the matters concerning the sect's establishment. Do stay for a meal before you depart." The instant the words left his lips, Morong Shue prostrated herself on the ground, declaring, "No, Senior. We were far too avaricious in the past. I have learned my lesson from the Hidden Stone incident. Henceforth, we shall absolutely never again covet any such opportunities." "Opportunities?" Chen Han'an paused, bewildered. "Are the opportunities you speak of merely those meals?" The instant the words were uttered, Morong Shue was utterly dumbfounded. "I've misspoken again." She then turned and fled in terror. "Forgive me, Senior, I have pressing matters to attend to, so I must take my leave now." Observing her hurriedly retreating figure, Chen Han'an was left in a complete fog of confusion. What exactly is happening? I've asked numerous questions, and it feels as though the problems have only compounded. And she claims I am immensely powerful. Alas, if only I truly possessed such strength. In the courtyard, Liu soared into the heavens, transforming into a colossal dragon. With a majestic swing of its divine tail, it sent a meteorite hurtling away. The meteorite ultimately landed in a region known as the Qianyu Imperial Kingdom, and overnight, this nation experienced an instantaneous and meteoric rise. Princess Qianyu awakened an extraordinarily powerful constitution, establishing herself as one of the continent's preeminent talents. The Emperor Emeritus successfully achieved a breakthrough to the Mahayana realm. Within a mere month, the Qianyu Imperial Kingdom was formally renamed the Qianyu Empire, solidifying its position as one of the continent's leading powers. However, the Qianyu Empire, destined for ascendancy, became excessively hubristic, and with an ill-fated lack of judgment, managed to provoke the protagonist. With merely half a month remaining until Chen Han'an's mission deadline, the Qianyu Empire unexpectedly emerged, causing the mission's progress to grind to a halt. Chen Han'an mused that the Book Mountain Immortal Academy might indeed be more formidable than an empire, given the presence of the character Immortal in its name. Yet, how was he to establish contact with Chen Han'an? Chen Han'an, after all, did not possess his means of communication. Should Su Ling's father make a move? After all, Su Yi's imposing presence alone made him seem like a great master. But Su Yi still wouldn't arrive for another half a month, so how should this group of minor forces be dealt with? Meanwhile, several individuals from the Chaoshan sect and the Phantom Moon sect were being held captive and forced into labor by Princess Qianyu. She had perfectly demonstrated the law that if you don't court death, you won't die. With a fully leveled Great Master guarding her, she was truly as imperious as one could be. As for the watermelon Morongxue had cut for her, she took only one bite before throwing it at Morongxue's face, infuriating Sister Xue to the point where she wished she could pummel her to death with her tiny fists. At this moment, Morongong also arrived from Chen Han'an's side, and Morongxue quickly went up to inquire. Morongong replied dejectedly, "Senior finds it inconvenient to act on his side, perhaps there are other arrangements." What was Morongxue about to say? Just then, the ground suddenly shook violently, as if the earth itself was trembling. Princess Qianyu hastily asked, "Is a treasure about to emerge?" No answer was needed. At that moment, a dark shadow burst forth from underground. Just a segment of its colossal tail exuded a terrifying pressure, and its dark scales gleamed with a chilling light, striking fear into people's hearts. When they finally discerned the full form of the dark shadow, each of them felt a violent tremor in their souls, scared out of their wits. It was, without a doubt, a black jiaoliao serpent as large as a small mountain. The black jiaoliao stood upright, its enormous lantern-like eyes observing coldly. The terrifying pressure of a peak Mahayana stage cultivator made everyone's breath catch in their throats. At this moment, the fully leveled Great Master beside Princess Qianyu abandoned her and fled. But just then, a sharp cry echoed through the scene, "Stop! With this old man here, you won't kill anyone." The newcomer was none other than Long Outyin, the Lord of Tianzuan Tower, who had recently broken through to the Earth Immortal realm. Princess Qianyu, as if clutching at a lifeline, shouted, "Lord! I am the princess of the Qianyu Empire, quickly take me away from here." However, Long Outyin was unimpressed by her, having witnessed all the petty incidents that had occurred these past few days. At this moment, her eyes were fixed solely on the gigantic black jiaoliao. Since her last breakthrough, she hadn't had a chance to test her strength, and this peak Mahayana jiaoliao was perfect for a sparring match. As the black jiaoliao emerged, its peak Mahayana pressure made it difficult for everyone present to breathe. Fortunately, Long Outyin, with her Earth Immortal strength, arrived in time to save the situation. Gazing at the black jiaoliao in the sky, Long Outyin smiled. Ever since breaking through to Earth Immortal, there had been no worthy opponent in the mortal realm. Now, seeing the black jiaoliao, her hands felt somewhat restless. Just then, the colossal black jiaoliao revealed a human-like expression and spoke in human tongue. "Did I damn kill anyone? And when did I ever say I was going to kill anyone? I'm a Buddhist too, all right." Long Outyin was stunned by these words. Thinking about it, the black jiaoliao did have a point, but something still felt off. After a long moment, she coughed and said, "Even if that's the case, if you intend to harm them, I must stop you." "Pa!" The black jiaoliao spat, then made an international friendly gesture. "Did I say I was going to harm them? I just came out to sunbathe, is that any of your business? You're just nosy. If you're not convinced, come on. I, for one, have already faced death. Don't assume your cultivation being higher than mine makes you superior." At this moment, Long Outyin felt that the dark, slimy black jiaoliao was just like a hooligan. "Aren't you a damned demonic beast? This rogue-like behavior of yours doesn't seem right. Could you be a bit more bloodthirsty and brutal? Then I wouldn't have any psychological burden when I cut you down." At this moment, Lu Yushi suddenly approached Long Outyin, adding fuel to the fire and stirring up trouble, attempting to instigate Long Outyin to kill the black jiao, so she could reap the benefits of their conflict. It would be even more perfect if both parties suffered significant losses. Long Out Yin's eyes narrowed slightly, thinking to himself, how could he not know what schemes this idiot was planning? With a flick of his sleeve, he scoffed. What a formidable Qianyu empire. Do you intend to use me as your blade? I don't know what kind of person your father is, but seeing you like this, I doubt he's much better. Remember this, little girl, some things are given to you by others, but if you insist on courting disaster, that entity can also take everything back. After speaking, Long Out Yin ignored the so-called princess and said, you should look after yourself. He then strode away. Watching his fading silhouette, Lu Yushi, the master of courting death, gritted her teeth and said, very well. Heavenly Venerate Tower, is it? One day I will make you all kneel at the feet of our empire. At this moment, Long Out Yin, who had walked a considerable distance, paused his steps, thinking, so, you intend to trample my Heavenly Venerate Tower underfoot, do you? Previously, due to matters of destiny, he had indulged Lu Yushi and her companions, believing it was an intentional arrangement by that senior. However, based on his experience interacting with the senior, it seemed that was not the case. Pondering this, he let out a cold shout, someone. As his voice faded, a figure in black appeared behind him. Long Out Yin instructed him, effective immediately, mobilize all members of the Heavenly Venerate Tower and all allied forces to completely suppress the Qianyu Empire, and threaten all forces cooperating with them. I want the Qianyu Empire to revert to its former state overnight. Can this be accomplished? He received a satisfactory reply. Long Out Yin continued, oh, and while you're at it, deliver a message to their emperor. That very night, the Qianyu Empire suffered a devastating blow, and the great power that had risen overnight collapsed just as swiftly, like a dream. The man in black also delivered Long Out Yin's message, you have a good daughter. This man actually wanted to compete with a 6-year-old girl. Long Out Yin had a minor fit of pique, and so, conveniently, he dealt with the Qianyu Empire. Afterwards, he still felt he should visit the senior for a lifetime of wisdom. Chen Pingan greeted both of them and asked, Elder Long, your timing is perfect. Are you aware of what happened with the Qianyu Empire? Long Out Yin was startled, senior truly possesses divine foresight. I came precisely because of the Qianyu Empire matter. Their conduct was atrocious and arrogant, so I employed means to thoroughly suppress them. My visit now is specifically to apologize. Already suppressed them? Chen Pingan was taken aback. I didn't expect Elder Long to possess such methods. Well suppressed. However, why are you here to apologize? Seeing his lack of response, Chen Pingan continued to ask, like a curious child. Elder Long, I actually have another question. Initially, I didn't mind you calling me senior, assuming you were like those from the Kaoshan sect, but since you possess the ability to suppress empires, why do you also call me senior? Is senior's remark intended to test me? Away with you. Sweat beaded on Long Out Yin's forehead, and a flash of insight struck him. Could it be that allowing the Qianyu Empire to rise was all a trial prepared for me by senior? However, with the words already spoken, Long Out Yin could only brace himself and reply, that is, of course, because senior is very powerful. Upon hearing these words, the system was completely stunned. Chen Pingan offered an awkward yet polite smile, saying, I see, thank you, Old Long. I have other matters to attend to shortly, so I will not be able to host you today. Long Out Yin promptly excused himself, saying, no worries at all, I also have numerous matters to attend to, so I shall take my leave first. Only upon reaching the doorway did he finally let out a sigh of relief, thinking, thankfully, senior is not angry. It seems my guess was correct, all of this is a test from senior. After the great genius Long Out Yin had left, Chen Pingan called out, System. Get out here. The system materialized instantly. What do you want? Chen Pingan said, haven't you always called me a weakling? How do you explain this now? The system was momentarily speechless, retorting, don't you have any idea yourself whether you're a weakling or not? Why don't you find someone to spar with and try it out? If you can win, I'll eat dirt while standing on my head. Chen Pingan felt offended by this remark. I refuse to believe it. Today, I will make sure to see you eat it. However, he then found himself in a predicament, wondering, who should I test it with? As for the Morong family, they are out of the question. That family treats him with more reverence than they would their own ancestors. Should I challenge some local ruffians? But what if I really am a weakling? Wouldn't I just get severely beaten? After much deliberation, a small figure caught his eye. How about we have a little match and see? Xiaolinger's mind was filled with questions. Are you serious? Hey! Could you be any more shameless? The man was beaten until his face resembled a pig's head, and the perpetrator was, surprisingly, a 6-year-old girl. To ascertain whether he was a master or a weakling, Chen Han'an decided to spar with Xiaolinger. He pointed to a bamboo pole, telling Xiaolinger to use it as a weapon. Xiaolinger picked up the pole and asked, "That's not a problem, but do we truly have to fight?" At this moment, Chen Han'an removed his jacket, and upon hearing Xiaolinger's words, he declared, "Of course we have to fight. But, big brother, are you truly going to take off that jacket? What if I accidentally hurt you?" Chen Han'an considered how much pain a child as young as Xiaolinger could possibly inflict. In any case, he was determined to convince the system today. He folded his clothes neatly and set them aside, saying, it's all right, feel free to strike. It would just be a shame to get the clothes dirty." "All right then," Xiaolinger replied. A dark rod struck white, and Chen Han'an's pupils contracted. Little Linger was so fast that he couldn't even react. With a whack, he was struck squarely on the head. Chen Han'an was struck down, falling headfirst to the ground. He felt that little Linger possessed immense strength, and he couldn't even dodge. Could it truly be as the system said, that he was so weak he couldn't even defeat a little girl? Touching his face, swollen like a bun, he simply attributed it to being careless and not dodging just now. So he got back up and said to little Linger, again. But no sooner had his words faded than little Linger's bamboo pole made intimate contact with his face once more. How could this be? I couldn't react in the slightest. Chen Han'an, unconvinced, said, again. Hearing the command, little Linger delivered another blow to his head. Moments later, a bruised and swollen Chen Han'an, slumped against the windowsill, sat groaning on a lounge chair in the courtyard, saying, "Anyone who dares to say I'm strong again, I'll take issue with them." "Brother!" Little Linger peeked half her body out from behind a tree, asking, "Are you really okay? Do I look like someone who's fine?" Chen Han'an thought to himself, judging by Su Yi's demeanor, little Linger is likely a child from a cultivation family, possessing greater strength than an ordinary child. Yet, he couldn't even defeat a little girl. He was already starting to believe he truly was a weakling. But there's no reason for Long Out Yen and the others to lie to me, is there? Could it be a bug? Could it be that my true strength is indeed very weak, but because of this bug, they perceived a powerful aura from me, which is why they called me senior? The more Chen Han'an pondered, the more plausible it appeared. Wouldn't I be able to borrow the tiger's might from now on? After Chen Han'an fell asleep, the divine artifacts and mythical beasts in the courtyard began to stir. The cleaver asked the little goldfish, "Did that black dragon today carry the aura of your dragon clan? It seems to possess a strain of dragon essence blood within it, yet it hasn't been fully utilized." The little goldfish poked its head out and said, "It probably consumed a dead dragon of decent rank, which was likely injured by those scoundrels in the god realm and then fell to the mortal world. It happened to stumble upon it and devoured it. It can't absorb it fully, but if it has time to stay by my side for a while, it would have the opportunity to completely absorb the dragon essence and become a true dragon." The great rooster said, "Should we capture it and cultivate it a bit?" The golden immortal sword also poked its head out, agreeing. The little goldfish said, "Since that's the case, little trash, make a trip and compel it to absorb this item, so it can transform properly before returning here." A golden bubble was handed by the little goldfish to the golden immortal sword. The little goldfish continued, "If it doesn't obey, you know what to do, don't you?" Little Trash replied, "Understood. I'll go do it now." Little Trash was finally about to rise. Just moments ago, the esteemed figures in the courtyard were actually going to take in another Little Trash. So, what would its future hold? It would become the second to last Little Trash, with its status undeniably soaring. In a certain direction above, a golden meteor suddenly streaked across the sky. It was the golden immortal sword arriving. Sensing its overwhelmingly terrifying aura, the black flood dragon had long since hidden itself in a dirt pit, trembling like a loach. Little Trash said, "You should know, hiding from me is useless." The black flood dragon could not comprehend why such a terrifying being existed in this mortal realm. Realizing escape was impossible, it reluctantly emerged. Hesitantly, it asked, "Great One, is there something you need from me?" This address of Great One brought the golden immortal sword immense pleasure. "Finally, someone calls me Great One." In that moment, the golden immortal sword felt a sensation of lightness and exhilaration. It cleared its throat. "Ahem, what did you just call me?" Startled, the black flood dragon wondered, "Did I say something wrong?" It then cautiously asked, "Great One?" This second Great One made the golden immortal sword's very bones tingle with delight, causing it to cough repeatedly once more. "Returning to the matter at hand, a group of esteemed figures wishes to enlist you as a subordinate and errand runner. And I, considerately, have prepared two choices for you. One is to agree, and the second is to be beaten by me, and then agree. You may choose. Observe. Is this what one would call a reasonable proposition? This is clearly just one choice, I say. Are you unconvinced?" The golden immortal sword snapped its fingers, and a burst of energy exploded above the black flood dragon's head. Completely intimidated by the terrifying energy fluctuation, the black flood dragon shivered. Yes, I agree. I accept your terms. Good, you know what's best for you. Eat this. The golden immortal sword tossed out a golden bubble. The black flood dragon instinctively bit into it, but the next moment, its eyes widened abruptly, revealing an expression of disbelief. Inside this bubble was incredibly pure dragon energy. Mere moments after consuming the bubble, 1/10 of the vast dragon essence within its body had been absorbed. This, it realized, would save it countless years of digestion time. Moreover, there appeared to be a secret transformation art within. The black flood dragon grew somewhat agitated. Could I also transform now? As it activated the secret art, with a bang, the black flood dragon felt itself transforming into something with a pair of black, furry ears and a furry tail. A black poodle appeared. The utterly bewildered black flood dragon was somewhat dumbfounded. Why have I turned into a poodle? The golden immortal sword, being specially trained, could usually restrain its laughter in most situations. Yet, unless it truly could not help itself, seeing the fluffy little black dog before it, it simply could not hold back. My apologies. Yet, the entity was clearly laughing ceaselessly, without a pause. The golden immortal sword, having nearly collapsed from laughter, finally managed to say to the large black dog, all right, let's go. Now, let me introduce you to the true powerhouse." The large black dog skillfully wagged its tail, eager to meet the formidable figure even the golden immortal sword highly praised. Just how terrifying could they be? The moment it stepped through the courtyard gate, the large black dog was suddenly struck speechless with fear. What kind of terrifying place was this? Inside the courtyard stood numerous supreme powerhouses, each exuding an aura of maximum potency. Standing silently, they exuded a terrifying pressure akin to a cosmic river of stars, making its scalp tingle, as if a single thought from them could cause the universe to collapse. Moreover, there wasn't just one such terrifying entity, the entire courtyard was filled with them. The large black dog tucked its tail, trembling, and hastily offered its greetings. The cleaver, sitting by the pond with its arms crossed, spoke, "It seems the little trash has been disciplined quite well." "Not at all. It's all thanks to the master's excellent teaching," the little trash complimented. The cleaver calmly stated, "Rise. From now on, in this courtyard, especially in front of our master, act more like a dog. Should the master discern any anomaly, we will have no choice but to humanely eliminate you. Is that clear?" The large black dog shivered, quickly confirming its understanding. It had no doubt that if it revealed any shortcomings, it would surely become a dog-meat hot pot. It finally understood why the golden immortal sword, despite its immense power, spoke of these great figures with such profound reverence. "If you understand, come over. Your ancestor is here, consider this a significant opportunity for you." The large black dog cautiously approached, only to see a goldfish emerge from the pond. "Oh, hello." The large black dog glanced at the goldfish and once again froze. That single look made the dragon essence within its body surge. The goldfish, sensing its nervousness, said, "Don't be anxious, you'll adapt after a while. Many creatures with dragon bloodlines feel uneasy in my presence, even the ancestral dragon. Your reaction is actually quite commendable. The large black dog was utterly confounded. Even the ancestral dragon would feel uneasy. Esteemed one, what precisely are you? The goldfish smiled faintly. In a certain realm, many refer to me as the sacred dragon. The two words, sacred dragon, struck the large black dog like a bolt from the clear sky. The dragon it had devoured possessed a secret history of the dragon race, and it had indeed seen that name recorded within it. That was the true progenitor of the dragon race, born at the world's inception, growing alongside all creation, and coexisting with endless time. Such an entity had actually manifested as a goldfish, dwelling in a pond. How terrifying, then, must be the master they spoke of. The peach tree rustled, then manifested itself. It saw him, a clear smile in his eyes, transmitting a message to Xiaolinger. Tomorrow, try your best to persuade the master to take in this little black dog. The Thousand Languages Empire is utterly finished. However, the Emperor of the Thousand Languages Empire and his father were utterly bewildered. Everything was fine moments ago, but now all forces avoided him as if he were a demon. Emperor Lu Jingtao of the Thousand Languages Empire was also perplexed, only recalling that Yushi had gone to a remote, impoverished area to search for treasure. He truly had no idea about anything else. As soon as this little troublemaker returned, she started talking to herself. Settling into a chair and demanding tea. Lu Jingtao walked over, his face devoid of expression. I ask you, what exactly happened during your journey south these past few days? Upon hearing this, Lu Yushi instantly flew into a rage. Don't even mention it, father. That lord of the celestial venerable tower was incredibly arrogant. Our empire must quickly develop so we can treat them like dogs in the future. It was indeed you who caused this trouble. This is now confirmed. Lu Jingtao was so furious that blood rushed to his head. No wonder that person mentioned he had a good daughter. The little troublemaker, not understanding the situation, asked her father, what happened? Lu Jingtao clenched his fist and spoke to his own father. Can I beat this dear granddaughter of yours to death? No. Before Lu Yushi could even be moved, the old man continued, I'll help you. The scene shifted, and Xiaolinger's voice drifted in from outside the window. Brother, wake up. Chen Han'an glanced outside the door. What is it, Xiaolinger? Xiaolinger then entered from outside the door, leading a large black dog. Chen Han'an was taken aback. Holy moly, Xiaolinger. Where did you get this dog? The large black dog looked at Chen Han'an with some trepidation. It was also quite curious about what kind of being the master, in the eyes of many powerful figures, truly was. Xiaolinger smiled. Isn't he adorable? He was lying outside the door all this time, looking lost. How about we adopt him? The bewildered Chen Han'an was somewhat confused. But if he was just lying outside the door, how did you know he was lost? Both the human and the dog froze. Xiaolinger suddenly kicked the ball to the big black dog, stating, he told me himself. The large black dog was utterly bewildered. Fortunately, Chen Han'an did not pursue the matter further. Chen Han'an was seen affectionately stroking Xiaolinger's head. Let's not joke about it, he thought. It's probably just someone's pet that ran off to play. We can leave it in the yard, and it might just go home when it gets tired. Chen Han'an noticed that Xiaolinger seemed to be quite fond of the large black dog. However, a dog coming down from the mountains might still be untamed, so it would be better not to adopt it carelessly. He was unaware that this was actually a task assigned to Xiaolinger by the peach tree. Xiaolinger went outside and plopped the large black dog onto the ground, saying, my task is complete. If Big Brother doesn't want you, it's no longer my concern. Go play by yourself. He was a black dragon, yet within this courtyard, he could only behave like a common stray dog. Just moments ago, Xiaolinger had brought him to meet Chen Han'an, only for him to be rejected. Nevertheless, the owner of these powerful beings had not driven him away, so staying here quietly should not be a major issue. With so many formidable beings residing in this courtyard, a mere flick of their fingers could bestow upon him opportunities to benefit for a lifetime. Only a fool would choose to leave. As Chen Han'an stepped out of his room, he paused in surprise. The stray dog had indeed settled down here. He observed the stray dog, wondering, could it be trying to find an opportunity to steal and eat the chickens in my yard? The large black dog was on the verge of tears. Senior, are you unaware of the true nature of your chickens? It thought. Although it did not know the exact cultivation level of the rooster, any being that could coexist on equal terms with a sacred dragon would surely devour even an ancestral dragon as if it were a mere earthworm. The fact that it hadn't eaten him already was an immense blessing. Just then, the system panel popped up with a ding. Chen Han'an paused. A new task already? A new task appearing before the previous one was even completed was a first in 5 years. However, upon seeing the task, he was immediately dumbfounded. Establishing a sect and recruiting 10,000 disciples within 10 days? Is this a joke? He exclaimed. How many people are even in Qingyuan town? Where am I supposed to find so many cultivators? However, the system then prompted. Failure of this mission will not result in eradication. Upon seeing this, Chen Han'an felt relieved. If it won't lead to my eradication, then I won't accept it. I'll just go about my business. No sooner had the words left his mouth than the system displayed again. Your manhood will be shortened by half. Could this possibly be tolerated? Chen Han'an's blood rushed to his head. Could it be this venomous? At this moment, a knocking sound echoed at the door. Senior, may I enter? Upon hearing this, Chen Han'an realized it was Morong Gong, and promptly replied from inside. Ah, Elder Gong, you've come at a perfect time, please come in quickly. Morong Gong brought with him some good news. The Thousand Tongues Empire had regressed overnight to its pre-liberation state, a development that greatly pleased him. He saw it as Chen Han'an having vented his frustrations on his behalf. He spoke excitedly, saying, with Senior's intervention, they have been severely suppressed, and the various matters concerning the sect's construction are complete. Soon, we can begin recruiting disciples. Chen Han'an was somewhat surprised. So Elder Long is truly formidable. This is indeed a blessing, like finding a pillow when you're sleepy. He hadn't imagined that his visual buff was so potent, capable of even intimidating someone as powerful as Elder Long, who could effortlessly suppress empires. Morong Gong let out a hearty laugh. Of course he's formidable. Senior didn't see it, but a few days ago, a monstrous beast appeared at the treasure-digging site and was scared out of its wits on the spot. As he spoke, his gaze happened to fall upon the large black dog lying beside them. Morong Gong was instantly terrified. He sensed that the aura of the black dog was identical to that of the black dragon that had appeared that day. But why was it here, and had he not just been speaking ill of it? Chen Han'an, somewhat bewildered, pointed to the common dog. Elder Long, you're not afraid of dogs, are you? How could he not be afraid? However, it seemed this flood dragon had already been subdued by the senior, so he shouldn't have to fear it. Calming himself, he said to Chen Han'an. Let's talk about senior's matters instead. Chen Han'an chuckled. I do indeed have a matter to discuss. Within 10 days, can we recruit 10,000 disciples? Morong Gong replied with certainty. Yes, we can. However, it will require Senior's assistance. He thought to himself. Indeed, if Senior could personally oversee the situation, cultivators and factions from all corners of the world would likely clamor to join. However, it is clear that this would go against Senior's spiritual cultivation. He then pointed at the black dog. All that is needed is for Senior to lend him to me for a few days. Chen Han'an was momentarily stunned. This black dog? He began to scrutinize the black dog. Just now, Senior Morong seemed to be afraid of it, and he also mentioned the presence of demonic beasts nearby. Could this black dog be a demonic beast? Seeing Chen Han'an's scrutinizing gaze, the black dog felt like crying without tears. I just want to quietly be a dog. This is too hard for me. After all, it was written in that cultivation book that some demonic beasts, though appearing normal, are usually ferocious in nature. Eating chickens would be a minor matter. If it were to harm Shaolinger, that would be terrible. Thinking of this, Chen Han'an decided to test Senior Morong and spoke. Elder Gong, what do you need this demonic beast for? In Senior Morong's eyes, Chen Han'an was an omniscient, towering figure. Who would have thought he was testing whether the black dog was a demonic beast? Without a second thought, he said. To keep order, of course. Upon hearing this, Chen Han'an immediately exclaimed in surprise, Holy cow, it really is a demonic beast. He quickly said to Senior Morong. then quickly take him away. Senior Moron was overjoyed upon hearing this. He hadn't expected Chen Han'an to actually be willing to lend him the black dog. He immediately promised to complete the task of recruiting 10,000 disciples within 10 days, then picked up the black dog and left. The big black dog, however, was unwilling. It looked aggrievedly at the goldfish in the pond. The goldfish transmitted a message. Don't be afraid. You can secretly return at night. Watching Senior Moron, alone with the dog, vanish into the air, Chen Han'an wondered if the mission would truly be completed smoothly. Although he also wanted to be there in person, using VIP special effects to show off and enjoy the feeling of being revered by thousands. However, he was unsure if these special effects worked for everyone. If only people like Long Out Yin could see them, and others couldn't, then the scene would be quite something. Senior Moron and the big black dog arrived inside Han'an's sect. The black dog immediately went berserk. What in the world have I done to offend you? Do you have any idea how many opportunities I'll miss out on if you take me away? Moron Gong broke into a sweat. He swiftly tried to coax him. Don't be angry, I'm actually helping you. This senior dislikes greedy people, you would have been driven away if you stayed there. After we assist the senior this time, I'll send you back and put in a good word for you. Wouldn't that be better? The great black dog's mind conjured the majestic figure of Chen Han'an, who seemed to bear the great Tao for all beings. And he suddenly realized that the senior indeed wanted to drive him away, causing him to feel a surge of retrospective fear. So, Brother Gong secretly helped me out, I've truly learned a valuable lesson. Since this is the senior's sect, I shall offer a small token of gratitude. With that, he tossed out a Bagua disc and said, This is a sect protecting formation. I've imbued it with spiritual energy. Once activated, it can withstand attacks from cultivators at the peak of the Mahayana stage. Immediately after, he threw out a large pile of rare treasures he had collected over the years, adding, I won't be needing them anyway. However, for creating a grand presence, I'll have to trouble Brother Jiao. That's easily done. A golden light erupted from the great black dog's body, and with a whoosh, it transformed into a Jiao dragon tens of kilometers long, coiling in the sky and bringing hundreds of miles around Han'an's sect under its terrifying pressure. Moron Gong gazed at the Jiao dragon, surprised that after only a few days, it had transformed so dramatically. It seemed to have obtained a great opportunity from the senior. The flying Jiao soared into the high heavens, its terrifying pressure spreading for hundreds of miles. Long Out Yin looked at the enormous coiling flying Jiao and the peak Mahayana level sect protecting formation, and couldn't help but exclaim. It seems the senior felt that relying mountain sect suffered because of him, and thus granted them some opportunities. But suddenly, a thought struck him. No, that's not right. The senior controls everything, how could he make a mistake? It shouldn't be this simple. After a moment of thought, his pupils abruptly constricted. Could this be a divine trial simultaneously conducted for three parties? The first is the Thousand Tongues Empire. The senior must have foreseen their arrogance, yet gave them a chance, wishing to bring them under his command. Unfortunately, they remained incorrigible. The second is me. I am under the senior's command, just like the people of Relying Mountain sect. So, it was to see if I would rescue them and proactively suppress the Thousand Tongues Empire. If I failed to do so, my trial would undoubtedly be a failure. The third is Relying Mountain sect, but it is clear they passed the trial, which is why the senior granted them such opportunities. The more Long Out Yin pondered, the more he felt his analysis was accurate, and cold sweat began to bead on his brow. Everything the senior does flows seamlessly, without any trace of intervention, yet he controls all. It is truly terrifying. Long Out Yin promptly instructed someone to prepare a grand gift. Meanwhile, a notification also came from the system. The mission to establish a sect has been completed. Chen Han'an has received one lottery draw opportunity. Chen Han'an was taken aback. It's done in just half a day? I didn't expect Mr. Moron and the others to be so efficient. Next time, I must treat him well. However, I'll just draw randomly, since I won't get anything good anyway. The sword picked up on the mountain was still functional, but the items drawn were not even comparable to that sword. The golden immortal sword hid to the side, greatly astonished. But it dared not be arrogant. As the draw was successful, a bag of something landed on Chen Ping'an's stomach. Chen Ping'an was momentarily stunned. What is this? The words super fertilizer were written on the bag. Chen Ping'an was quite pleased. He felt that the item drawn this time was far better than before. Previously it was always brooms or cleavers, but this time it was a packet of modern fertilizer. He had been planning to plant something in the yard, and this seemed like it would work well. He immediately called for Xiaolinger. Do you want to have endless watermelons in the yard later? Come with Big Brother to the town to buy seeds. The two words watermelon had a much stronger effect than his father's name. The little girl was instantly thrilled, filled with anticipation. How wealthy was this protagonist? Sacred dragons and divine artifacts actually became mere junk in his eyes. After buying watermelon seeds from the town, Chen Ping'an and Xiaolinger began to work in the field. As the watermelon seeds were sown and the super fertilizer was spread, Xiaolinger suddenly became excited. Because just moments ago, cute little sprouts had already broken through the soil. Chen Ping'an finally understood. That super fertilizer was a good item that could make plants grow quickly, far better than the junk items like goldfish and brooms he had drawn before. Gazing at the wildly growing melon seedlings, Xiaolinger was so happy she almost soared. Brother, will we have watermelons to eat soon? Chen Ping'an stated. Not yet. Though the fertilizer is miraculous, it cannot be overused. We must wait at least another half-month. While Chen Ping'an returned to change his clothes, the little girl gazed at the bag of fertilizer as if it possessed some magical power, eventually walking step by step towards it. Little Linger happily spread the fertilizer on the ground. In just a few moments, half of the fertilizer in the basin was gone. At this moment, the melon seedlings grew rapidly, like a fast-motion sequence in a film, soon transforming into a patch of melon vines, which then flowered and bore fruit. Hearing a rustling sound, Chen Ping'an stepped out. He curiously asked little Linger, "What happened?" The little girl quickly hid the fertilizer. "Brother, look! The watermelons suddenly grew so big, they're ready to eat." Chen Ping'an turned his head to look. He was utterly dumbfounded. He saw that the ground, which had just been full of melon seedlings, was now covered with numerous large, round watermelons. It was uncertain if these watermelons were fully ripe. Chen Ping'an then glanced into the bag, only to find that a third of the super fertilizer bag was now empty. "Little Linger, could you explain what happened with this fertilizer?" Little Linger stammered. I don't know, maybe it was blown away by the wind." Chen Ping'an felt a sense of helplessness. Just how much did this little girl love eating watermelon? What he did not notice was a pair of eyes stealthily observing them from outside the door. Chen Ping'an examined the sliced watermelon. It looked very red and appealing, yet he wondered if something so rapidly ripened would actually be safe to eat. "Little Linger, don't be so quick to eat, let me try it first." Before he could finish his sentence, the little gourmand was already eating with her cheeks puffed out. Chen Ping'an paused for a moment, then asked, "Is everything all right? Are you feeling uncomfortable at all?" Xiaolinger replied indistinctly, "No, it's very sweet." "Brother, you should eat quickly too." Chen Ping'an felt utterly helpless. "Eat slower, no one is snatching it from you." The little girl took a few more vigorous bites, muttering under her breath, "What if brother might share it with that person outside the door later?" Hearing this, Chen Ping'an looked towards the door. "Is there someone outside the door?" Chen Ping'an opened the door to find a young boy standing just outside. As he greeted the boy, he saw the boy's pupils suddenly contract, and he began to tremble. Indeed, he was once again startled by Chen Ping'an's imposing aura. "Little friend, are you a cultivator?" Chen Ping'an inquired. Seeing that the child remained silent, he presumed the boy was mute and sighed, "How pitiful." He handed the watermelon in his hand to the boy. "Take this and eat it. I won't keep you here to play." After Chen Ping'an went back inside, the young boy let out a breath of relief. He had truly been intimidated by Chen Ping'an's powerful presence. Gazing at the closed door, he took a step back and quickly fled. He possessed the most valuable treasure for concealing one's aura. Yet, he had still been discovered just now. It was his first time being so terrified that he couldn't utter a word. He had not expected such a formidable expert to be living in seclusion in this small town. It was likely he had been detected the moment he stealthily followed. Fortunately, the senior expert had not shown displeasure. He also understood that the senior desired not to be disturbed. However, merely a glance at such a powerful being was enough. He took a piece of watermelon and tasted it. Yet, in the very next moment, he was stunned. For with that single bite of watermelon, his cultivation level swiftly soared from the first level of foundation establishment to the 5th level of core formation. The young boy gazed at the watermelon in disbelief. This is a great opportunity bestowed upon me by the senior. Such a casual act could bestow immense fortune upon someone. It seemed he had underestimated this venerable senior. Furthermore, the sudden rise of a sect nearby was very likely connected to this senior. His original purpose in coming here was to investigate this newly emergent sect. Pondering this, he took out a jade pendant and sent a message to his grandfather. That sect might not be as simple as we imagined. You'll need to prepare an exceptionally grand gift. After Chen Han'an closed the door, he reflected on the scene that had just transpired. He felt he should keep the door more securely shut in the future. Such miraculous fertilizer, if seen by others, would likely cause considerable trouble. But then, his steps halted abruptly. How did Xiaolinger notice someone outside the door just now? Could it be? A thought emerged in Chen Han'an's mind. Xiaolinger, tell me honestly, do you possess cultivation? This. Xiaolinger was dumbfounded. Chen Han'an's sudden question left her momentarily at a loss for how to respond. But seeing Chen Han'an's resolute gaze, the little girl could only force a smile and say, "Oh, I originally wanted to live alongside Big Brother as an ordinary person." Yet, what she received in return was suspicion. "That's right, I am a cultivator, I'm coming clean." Did you know what true cultivation realm Xiaolinger actually possessed? But who exactly created the system? Chen Han'an had not expected that a casual palm strike from him would reveal Xiaolinger to truly be a cultivator. Is there any justice left? This was truly disheartening. Xiaolinger, rubbing her head, claimed she was very weak and couldn't compare to others at all. When Chen Han'an inquired about her cultivation realm, the words Immortal Venerable almost slipped out of Xiaolinger's mouth. Her gaze furtively darted behind Chen Han'an, where she saw the peach tree holding a sign, prompting her. Thus, she hesitantly corrected herself, saying, Lian Chi. Noticing the little girl's eyes darting about, Chen Han'an sharply turned his head, but the courtyard was empty. She asked Xiaolinger again, "So, when did you begin cultivating?" Xiaolinger's gaze once again flickered to a certain spot, where the peach tree sign displayed the words "not long ago." Chen Han'an abruptly spun around, yet the place Xiaolinger had glanced at remained empty. He couldn't help but feel a sense of unease. Why did Xiaolinger always look in that direction whenever she spoke? Was someone prompting her? Rubbing her head, she searched around repeatedly but found absolutely nothing. Something was amiss. Chen Han'an took away the watermelon from the table, saying, "If you don't confess honestly, I'll confiscate all the watermelons." This tactic proved effective, as Xiaolinger, in a great rush, pointed to the peach tree in the courtyard and exclaimed, "Oh, brother, it's not my fault. Peach tree sister taught me everything." Peach tree sister? Chen Han'an was filled with bewilderment. She had read in books that in this world, if things lived long enough or encountered a fortuitous transformation, they could gain sentience and become spirits or immortals. However, although the sapling was given by the system, she had watched it grow for 5 years and hadn't noticed anything unusual. After a moment of thought, she wondered if, like the fertilizer she brought, the seeds provided by the system were also somehow different. The little girl had exposed her accomplice for a watermelon. This was the system's subtle prompt to the peach tree. Peach tree, find a way to resolve this. If you are exposed, you know the consequences. The peach tree was at a loss for words. The next moment, she raised her small hand, and a pink orb of light appeared at her fingertip. With a flick, the orb whooshed into Xiaolinger's forehead. Xiaolinger cried out and clutched her head, then began fabricating nonsense. "Brother, my head is so dizzy. Actually, it's not just peach tree sister talking to me, even the white clouds in the sky speak to me, and that watermelon is waving at me." Chen Han'an was taken aback. He gently touched Xiaolinger's head, only to find it burning with fever. He glanced at the large watermelons in the melon patch, a suspicion forming in his mind that this might be a side effect of the peculiar fertilizer. Meanwhile, Long Out Yin was deep in meditation beneath a tree when a sudden, ferocious power descended, erupting explosively around him. As the smoke and dust dissipated, a colossal crater was revealed, encircling Long Out Yin. Long Out Yin scoffed, "So it's you, you decrepit old fool. Do you truly believe such paltry tricks can impress me?" The newcomer, known as Bai Gufeng, likewise sneered, "You old fossil, your cultivation has advanced, but you won't even permit me a greeting?" Long Out Yin retorted, "By your ancestors, do you truly call this a greeting? However, I find myself disinclined to contend with a mere wretch like you, who remains at the peak of Mahayana. A mere peak Mahayana, and you have the audacity to shout before this immortal? The last time our paths crossed, you were already at the peak of Mahayana. To find you still there now, one must wonder if you have simply grown complacent at that stage." Bai Gufeng was seething with rage. "You scoundrel! If you can't deliver a retort properly, then don't force it. If you have any courage, then cease mentioning the peak of Mahayana." With a flourish, Long Out Yin tossed his flowing long hair, declaring, "Then you are simply not as handsome as I." Xiaolinger lay in bed, feigning illness, leaving Chen Han'an in a quandary. He was at a loss as to the source of the ailment. If the watermelons were indeed the cause, he himself had consumed a considerable amount without any apparent ill effects. At that moment, a knock echoed from outside. It was the familiar figure of Elder Morong. Of all those who frequented his courtyard, Elder Morong's family was by far the closest, a fact to which Chen Han'an had long grown accustomed. "Elder Morong, please come in, there is no need to inquire every time." Upon entering, Elder Morong was initially taken aback, for his gaze was met with a multitude of perfectly round watermelons scattered across the floor. "Goodness me, just days ago this place was barren, and now there are so many melons. Furthermore, the immense spiritual energy they contain is tens of thousands of times more potent than even the highest-grade spiritual medicine I have ever encountered. How, I wonder, did the senior manage to cultivate such wonders?" Observing Elder Morong's keen interest in the watermelons, Chen Han'an pondered. The ancient texts mention that cultivators who absorb an excess of spiritual energy, unable to refine it, often develop a fever. These fertilizers are remarkably potent, perhaps they could even yield spiritual elixirs. Yet, I remain completely ignorant of cultivation. He then turned to Elder Morong and inquired, "Elder Morong, do you believe these watermelons might be spiritual medicines?" Elder Morong paused, momentarily bewildered by the question, yet he responded, "Senior, surely you jest. How could these possibly be mere spiritual medicines?" However, within his own mind, he declared, "These are clearly divine elixirs." "Fortunately not," Chen Han'an murmured, letting out a breath of relief. From this perspective, it appeared Xiaolinger's fever was likely caused by consuming something too cold, necessitating strict dietary control for her. In truth, Elder Morong's visit was prompted by the Pingan sect's grand opening to guests that day. He had intended to invite Chen Han'an to the county town. However, with Xiaolinger's sudden illness, Chen Han'an was compelled to remain and care for her. Elder Morong, however, felt a pang of embarrassment. He had initially assumed this was merely an excuse from Chen Han'an. The notion of Xiaolinger, with her formidable cultivation, falling ill was utterly inconceivable to him. Chen Han'an then proceeded to the field, picking 2 watermelons for Elder Morong, instructing him to take them back and distribute them among the attendees at the grand ceremony. Inside, Elder Morong's heart pounded with excitement. While these watermelons may be of little consequence to the senior, for us, they represent an unparalleled, heaven-sent opportunity. Without further ado, he reached out, took the watermelon, and with a whoosh, placed it into his inner realm. Seeing Morong Gong secure the watermelon, Chen Han'an smiled and said, "Then I'll leave the matter of recruiting 10,000 disciples to your good care." The founding ceremony of Pingan's sect was bustling with activity, a sea of people, all curious about this suddenly rising grand sect. After Morong Gong returned from Chen Han'an's place, Morong Shui quickly asked if the senior would be coming. Morong Gong replied, "The senior likely has other arrangements today, so he won't be attending." As the grand ceremony commenced, Princess Luolan of the kingdom personally arrived to grace the occasion. following her, the rulers of top-tier major powers, such as the Emperor of the Barren Valley Empire and the Grand Emperor Emeritus of the Xinjiang Empire, also arrived to offer their congratulations. The young master of Purgatory's sect observed everything and, displeased, said to the little Gaga beside him, "Is this what you meant by encountering an immortal's assistance? The sect only has one divine artifact, no powerful cultivators within, and apart from the formation and that flood dragon, everything else is practically trash. Is this all there is?" Little Gaga was drenched in sweat. "Young master, I truly didn't lie to you. Otherwise, how do you explain the sudden rise of this Gaoshan sect, and why would so many empires show goodwill towards it?" The young master of Purgatory's sect replied with certainty, "These are all tricks to deceive disciples and collect offerings. The gentry's money will be returned in full, while the rest is split 70-30. These are old tricks, understand, you fool." As long as he blended into the sect, even if that formation was activated, it would have no effect on him, and no matter how grand other empires were, they posed no threat to his Purgatory sect. He looked at the flood dragon coiling in the sky and said to little Gaga, "I can contend with a great Ascension 7-peak cultivator. Don't forget your mission today, capture Morong Shui." The young master of Purgatory's sect was utterly bewildered. He had originally intended to seize this opportunity to capture Morong Shui and refine her into a corpse rider. With the meager combat power displayed by Pingan's sect and the major powers in attendance, he had no fear whatsoever. However, the scene that followed left him completely stunned. When Long Outyin, the pavilion master of the Heavenly Venerate Tower, arrived, his pupils suddenly constricted. But that wasn't all. An old man with a stylish receding hairline flew down, none other than Chen Han'an, the dean of Shushan Immortal Academy. An old man and a young man, they were Beigufeng, the hall master of Jubao Hall, and his grandson. The three of them arrived to offer congratulations as if by prior arrangement. The young master of Purgatory's sect felt his scalp tingle, as controllers of the three major top-tier forces, and simultaneously three top-tier powerhouses, why would they be here? Long Outyin glanced at Beigufeng beside him. No wonder this fellow suddenly appeared here. It turns out he also heard about the senior. Morong Gong stepped out to greet them. He and Long Outyin were old acquaintances. Chen Han'an cupped his fists in salute and introduced himself. Morong Gong felt as though he was the senior's representative, and dared not show any disrespect. Beigufeng also introduced himself. "I am Beigufeng, Hall Master of Jubao Hall. If you don't mind, you can call me." Before he could finish, Long Outyin interjected, "Just call him Tagalong. With three top-tier powerhouses by his side, Morong Gong could only offer an awkward yet polite smile. "The three of you must be here because of the senior, I presume. Please come inside first." "Wait, old brother Gong, please accept this before going inside." Inside, golden light erupted, and a scroll whooshed out. As True Canon Hall explained, the dragon and phoenix in the scroll seemed to come alive. Morong Gong's eyes widened dramatically, as if forged from titanium alloy. Could it be the Book Mountain Immortal Academy's guardian treasure? True Canon Hall replied, "Precisely, elder brother Gong. Your sect has just been established, and a treasure of this kind is most suitable as a gift for you." At this moment, White Bone Peak also produced a treasure box. To think such a valuable gift was given. "My grand treasure hall operates across the continent. As a businessman, I cannot be outdone." The treasure box opened, and a curtain of azure light shot skyward. "Elder brother Gong, I observe that the spiritual energy of your mountain is somewhat lacking. This item is a superior spiritual vein. It should serve perfectly to improve the situation." Such a spiritual treasure was not only rarely seen but likely unheard of by many. Yet, Long Outyin interjected sarcastically from the side, "Spiritual veins are categorized into inferior, mid-grade, superior, extreme, peerless, and without equal. How could you possibly present merely a superior one?" White Bone Peak was choked speechless by his words, his blood surging with indignation. Could these even be considered human words? Then, Long Outyin produced a box. "Elder brother Gong, his spiritual vein can be tossed in the latrine. This peerless spiritual vein is what truly belongs here." White Bone Peak was furious. "It seems this immortal old man is determined to oppose me." He snorted, then declared, "I have a second gift as well. The holder of this violet gold card, when purchasing any item from my grand treasure hall, Long Out Yen and White Bone Peak argued incessantly, leaving Little Gaga utterly dumbfounded. With 3 top-tier powerhouses present, each vying to present priceless treasures, he finally believed that a formidable entity stood behind this sect. Just then, a subordinate approached and whispered, "Young master, what should we do now? What should we do? Should we still proceed with the original plan?" Little Gaga paused for a moment, then immediately wished to pummel this brainless fool to death. "For goodness sake, pay attention to your surroundings when you're talking." Just then, Murong Shui turned around, having overheard their entire conversation. He paused, then said to Murong Gong, "Grandpa, there are 2 troublemakers here." Little Gaga's situation instantly became dire. Upon hearing this, Long Out Yen and the other 2's eyes immediately gleamed with golden light. To think someone would offer themselves up for experience at this very moment. This is practically an invitation for us to earn favor in front of the senior. Immediately, he clapped Little Gaga on the shoulder. "Little brother, repeat what you just said." With that slap, Long Out Yen also recognized Little Gaga as a member of the Purgatory sect. "How dare you cause trouble here? Do you not respect my celestial venerate tower?" White Bone Peak also spoke coldly. "Purgatory sect, while short on wealth, is certainly not lacking in audacity. It seems you also disregard my grand treasure haul." True Canon Hall, a man of few but harsh words, simply stated, "Annihilate them." Cold sweat broke out on Little Gaga's forehead as he forced an awkward laugh. "Ha, esteemed elder brothers, there's a misunderstanding here. I am actually merely a guest." His expression was as sincere as he could make it, as if he himself believed his words. At this moment, Murong Gong said with a beaming smile, "So that's how it is. Since it was all a misunderstanding, let's just let it go." Little Gaga had just breathed a sigh of relief when Murong Gong continued, "You brought a gift, didn't you?" Seeing Little Gaga freeze, Murong Gong added, "It's alright, we're not picky. Even if the quality isn't great, quantity can make up for it." Little Gaga immediately broke into a cold sweat. There was nothing else he could do but hand over all the treasures on his person. Watching several people aggressively gather around, commenting on his treasures, some nodding, others shaking their heads, Little Gaga's heart bled. He clenched his fists, gritting his teeth as he planned, "Once those 3 leave, I'll destroy this place." But then, he was stunned. Long Out Yen was seen putting his arm around Murong Gong's neck and saying, "Brother, I'm currently living on a nearby mountaintop, come over when you have time." Just as Long Out Yen put his arm around Murong Gong's shoulder, inviting him to visit when he had time, the black flood dragon in the sky let out a roar, then, with a flash of light, transformed into a large black dog and descended. Murong Gong turned his head in confusion, only to hear the large black dog say, "He can't defeat that person in the sky." Everyone was instantly alarmed. No one had noticed that a terrifying figure had appeared in the sky at some unknown point. A thunderbolt flashed through Murong Gong's mind. "This is an immortal. That flood dragon carries undigested dragon essence. It absolutely has the potential to transform into a true dragon in the future. I never imagined such a bounty on this trip to the mortal realm." The yellow-haired man spoke, and rolling sound waves vibrated forth. "Listen, you ants below. If you don't want your formation to be broken, voluntarily close it and hand over the black flood dragon, or I will wipe out your entire sect." A terrifying pressure emanated, causing Long Out Yen and the others to tremble uncontrollably. Murong Gong struggled to cup his fists and said, "Esteemed Immortal, this flood dragon belongs to a certain entity and is not our sect's guardian beast. If you wish to claim it, please inquire with that entity." Upon hearing this, the yellow-haired man, Chen Yanming, immediately scowled and coldly stated, "So, you refuse? Mere ants. I'll give you 3 seconds to reconsider." He finished, and without waiting for Murong Gong's reply, uttered the word 3. As he counted to 2, sweat beaded on Murong Gong's forehead. Logically, the senior figure should have long been aware of the commotion here, and he couldn't understand why the senior hadn't appeared yet. The word 1 came, but it wasn't from the yellow-haired man. Instead, the golden immortal sword had appeared behind him at some unknown moment and declared imposingly, "Go on, try to make a move." The yellow-haired man was startled, his pupils constricted sharply, and upon turning his head to look, he was immediately struck dumb with an "Ah! Golden spiritual immortal Chi? How are you here?" The golden immortal sword crossed its arms and asked, "Do I need to report my presence here to you? This place is under my protection, understand?" And you, a mere immortal spirit realm trash, dare to challenge here? Large beads of sweat emerged from his forehead. The yellow-haired man truly couldn't comprehend what was happening at this mortal sect. Feeling the terrifying aura of the golden immortal sword, vast as a sea of stars, sweat poured from the yellow-haired man's forehead like an untightened faucet, completely extinguishing any thought of resistance. Turning around, he took off running, wishing he had several more pairs of legs. The golden immortal sword merely watched him silently. Back in the immortal realm, the golden immortal sword was a being that stirred up turmoil in all directions. His appearance indeed terrified the yellow-haired man immensely. After letting Blondie run for 40 meters, Little Scum flashed beside him and delivered a left hook. He then launched a flying kick, sending Blondie crashing heavily to the ground. He declared that Blondie must return with him that day to offer an apology. Blondie agreed to apologize, but only if he were punched one more time. Once his demand was met, he knelt before the Pinyin sect, thereby securing his safety. After beating Blondie until he was left with only his underwear, Little Scum finally released him. Watching Blondie hastily flee, Gong cleared his throat. He announced that, effective immediately, 10,000 disciples would be officially recruited over the next 3 days. 3 days later, Chen Han'an, who was resting in the courtyard, suddenly received a system notification of task completion. Furthermore, as Chen Han'an had completed 900 tasks, the system would now upgrade to intermediate mode, at which point the rewards would also undergo changes. The system would now allow its master to choose between acquiring items or cultivation, according to his wishes. This also signified that Chen Han'an could finally gain cultivation. As the system upgraded, its progress bar became stuck at 99%. This turn of events left Chen Han'an utterly exasperated. While he was not paying attention, Xiao Ling'er stealthily prepared to steal a watermelon. Chen Han'an suddenly turned his head and called out to her. He forbade her from secretly eating watermelon, reminding her if she had forgotten about the fever she had 2 days prior. Xiao Ling'er responded with resignation that the matter had nothing to do with the watermelon. Just then, a notification appeared: the system had finally completed its upgrade. Gazing at the shimmering golden inscription, Chen Han'an was momentarily bewildered. It had merely turned gold, nothing more. The system then continuously displayed notifications, declaring its upgrade to intermediate mode. Simultaneously, it would allow Chen Han'an to select a developmental path. The first option was the triggered task mode. This mode required the host to passively await triggered tasks. Upon completing a task, one could randomly draw certain items. The second option was the conquest mode. In this mode, the system would automatically select 100 checkpoints across the world. The host could then teleport to these locations to conquer the checkpoints. Upon completing these remaining 100 tasks, one would become invincible in the world. Chen Han'an stroked his chin, lost in thought. This implies he must engage in battle with others. Yet, with his small stature, he couldn't even defeat Xiao Ling'er last time. To fight against others, wouldn't that be akin to carrying a lantern in a latrine, a blatant search for death? The system prompted him once more. The second option could bestow an initial cultivation level upon the host. Furthermore, as the host lacked a spirit root and could not cultivate independently, the spiritual energy reservoir would perpetually remain full. Moreover, each time a challenge was overcome, his cultivation would advance. This was like equipping his dantian with a perpetual motion machine. And it could even enhance his cultivation. Chen Han'an knew with absolute certainty, even without deep thought, that this choice was the definitive one. As his finger pressed down, a powerful sensation surged through his body. The system had gifted him a grand package, reaching the first stage of core formation. Finally, he possessed cultivation. Tears streamed down Chen Han'an's face. 5 years. Do you know how I've spent these past 5 years? Within his body, a controllable current of energy seemed to surge. Chen Han'an spread his palm, pondering, is this what cultivators refer to as spiritual energy? A light then illuminated Chen Han'an's palm. He decided to test his newfound abilities. With a swift palm strike, a small hole burst open in the wall. The first stage of core formation, terrifying indeed. Chen Han'an couldn't help but place his hands on his hips with satisfaction. This was simply too powerful. Consequently, Chen Han'an felt capable once more. He couldn't resist calling Xiaolinger and compelling her to take a bamboo pole. He instructed her to strike him with full force, just like last time, assuring her he would not dodge. Such a request was something Xiaolinger had only encountered twice in her entire life. She revealed a mischievous, impish grin, then leaped into the air, poised to strike Chen Han'an. Chen Han'an immediately thought, oh my word. Xiaolinger can also mobilize spiritual energy. Xiaolinger tapped his shoulder with a bamboo pole, and as expected, he didn't feel much. Chen Han'an became excited. I've truly become stronger. However, the truth was that his VAP jacket had absorbed most of the damage. Looking at his smug expression, the rooster felt a pang of shame. It wondered when its master would regain some of his strength. Seeing him like this now, the rooster felt so awkward it wanted to scratch out a 3-bedroom apartment with its claws. The peach tree also felt that after so many reincarnations, this particular master was peculiarly immature. It also wondered if he would still be as handsome as before once he recovered his former strength. The cleaver sighed helplessly. They had no right to interfere with their master's choices. He clearly remembered how the master was invincible across all realms back then. How utterly dominant Chen Han'an was at that time. Once, Chen Han'an, alone, faced a group of beings capable of destroying countless realms with a mere gesture, and he simply uttered, "Come at me, all of you, I don't wish to waste time." After effortlessly vanquishing these invincible entities, his tea remained warm. From the few words revealed by the cleaver, Little Trash caught a glimpse of just how invincible Chen Han'an once was. He could infer the whole from a single part. He said, profoundly shaken. So, Senior was once so incredibly powerful, yet now he is like this. The formidable cleaver immediately instructed. Do not ask about what you shouldn't. Chen Han'an, however, was unaware of this small interlude among the divine artifacts and beasts. At that moment, he received a message from the system. The first stage is ready. Would you like to enter? He paused for a moment. So soon? Indeed, this was much better than passively waiting for tasks to refresh. Just then, Murongong's voice came from outside the courtyard. Is the senior at home? Chen Han'an, who was just about to accept, paused. It was Elder Gong's voice. System, wait a moment. As the courtyard gate opened, the figures of Murongong and the large black dog appeared in the courtyard. It turned out that the mission was complete, and Murongong had escorted the large black dog back.